From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined, as always, with our super producer, Dylan, the Tennessee pal Fagan. Most importantly, you are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. Caw, meow, wolf,
Kikeriki.
Yeah.
Cha-chee-cha-chee-cha-chee.
Yes.
Click, 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 and some surreptitious infrasound. We're back with the second chapter in our series on human-to-animal communication.
Damn, I thought you were going to say conversion, and that was all in. But no, communication's super interesting, too.
I like the chimera reference.
That is the chimera thing. We already did that one.
I think it's fair to say, folks, that our research here for this series has inspired all of us to look at our pets and non-human friends a little bit differently. Matt, would love to throw to you. I think you, what were you telling us off air? You met a deer?
Oh, yeah. I performed a recent experiment with a bit of animal communication. We've talked about trying to communicate with crows, ravens, other birds like that. We've talked about attempting to talk with our pets and stuff. But I was hanging out at my grandparents' house in ye old coming, as we will all be excited about.
Never not hilarious.
Right?
Sorry.
Yep. I look down in the backyard when I'm standing up kind of in the carport area, and there is a tiny little baby deer just laying down, staring right at me with its ears out, alerted and nervous, but still sitting there.
Did your heart melt immediately into your chest?
A bit, yeah, for sure. There's a little bit of melting, but mostly curiosity as to why it would just sit there and stare at me and not move, not do anything. It was just there.
Like, is it scared of you? Is it curious about you? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so I started using my human voice and words to talk to it. I said, "Hey, little one. Hey, little baby. What are you doing?" And it was just sitting there staring at me still. And I got my girlfriend to come out, and it was still there. We were looking at it. And we started pulling up YouTube videos of mother deers calling to their babies, right?
What a good idea.
Just to see what would occur, and would it recognize those sounds? Does this mother deer sound like this other mother white-tailed deer? And played some, and we watched as its ears just began, making movements as though it appears that the deer either recognizes a similarity to it or is hearing something in there that we imagined would be like listening to someone saying words to them.
Can you recreate the sound?
I've done the same thing with crows. Yeah.
Interesting. Crows are so cool to me in that respect because I've always understood that they've got such complexity and differences. I'm sure
there's
there's
tonality.
some kind of shared.
I mean, gosh, that wasn't on this episode. It was on Ridiculous History recently. Ben played this poem that was in Chinese that used a single sound, like an alphabet sound, and it did it like 15 different ways with like upward and downward inflections and stuff. And I imagine stuff like that is, very important in the animal kingdom.
Yeah. And I think we've all started to look at our animals differently. Maybe real quick, we throw to our pal Dylan. Dylan, has our previous exploration on talking with animals, has it changed the way you're talking to your pets, man?
I'm definitely thinking about it more. It's interesting because I'm like, how many phrases does my dog know, and how much is it about my intonation? Because there's definitely she knows the difference between do you want to go out, which means go in the backyard, and do you want to go on a walk, which means going through the front door, things like that.
Yeah, dude, I've been trying it on mine too. Just same deal, trying to figure out, is it actually the language or just the tone?
For sure. And I mean, was it Ben? I think on the last episode you pointed out to me with my cat complaints that yes, in fact, studies show that cats do know when you're calling their name. They just don't care. So then it becomes like, what is it about cats versus dogs that makes that reaction different? Because cats don't react the same kind of talk that dogs do. If they react at all, frankly. And by the way, Vanessa did come back. I had some construction going on at my house, and the cat didn't show up for like a whole day, and I started to get a little scared, but she turned up once the construction melee was cleared.
What a perfect description. Construction melee. That's beautiful. We do hope that you have found this exploration as fascinating as we do. We're going to pause for a word from our sponsors that are currently not using large language models to speak crow or cetacean. We'll be right back. Here are the facts. All right, previously we explored this whole bag of badgers. It's the thing called communication in general and speech, the organized vocalization to convey a specific concept, is only one very small part of that huge umbrella term. And I think we all agreed in chapter 1 that every living animal has some form of communication, right? Maybe we're anthrocentric.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's the crux of this whole question. I think we said at the very top of the first episode is like the anthrocentric nature of the question, can we talk to animals?
Yeah, and it goes back to this concept that's been around for a long time, that potentially most noises that animals make are an alert of some form or another, and that's it. And it's generally to alert other animals within their pod, within their group, within their whatever it is, their pack. Or at least most sounds are for that, unless you get into some of the things specifically that mothers make. There are generally soothing sounds that are out there. But are there do animals call each other by name, which is something really cool we're going to find out today. Mm-hmm. And do animals... Well, yeah. At least we know of a few species that have names, right? Mm-hmm. But then, is that across the board and we just don't understand it yet?
Right. And that's a great point, because every animal has some complex form of communication, even if it's not, speaking the king's English. Oh, I forgot. They got a king again, right? Good on you, United Kingdom. I keep forgetting they have a king.
Why wasn't it the United Queendom for, a long time there?
These are the questions. So every animal having this stuff, some of these communication or communicative channels are genuinely incomprehensible to the unaided human. They just don't have the hardware to grok what's happening. Maybe an analogy here, if we walk it out a little bit, walk it out, is let's say an octopus is a postal worker, right? And an octopus goes around and delivers letters. They're great at it because they have 8 arms. And in this analogy, the octopus wants to deliver a letter, but our human recipient doesn't have a mailbox. So there's no way for this message to cross the chasm of interspecial differences.
I think a film that does a good job of portraying this disconnect is Arrival, with the just gulf, I guess, between the way humans communicate and the alien species that is, featured in the film. And Ben, I saw you do a nod because I think you've brought this up too. It has more to do with, like, is it a sound based? It's like it's not sound based, or there's something just inherently like the square peg in a round hole situation about the way the species communicates versus, humans.
I don't want to spoil anything, but the key to their language is time. One of the best movies ever made.
Isn't it great? I need to revisit it because I'm a little foggy on the details. But isn't that right, though, the way that it does do a good job of portraying that?
Yeah, the whole movie is about how to figure out how to communicate, right? Mm-hmm. And communication is key, guys. I've learned that through therapy, okay?
It's true, buddy. Also, self-awareness is a big one. Yeah.
Communication is the greatest. I want to say this octopus we're talking about here, who's working for the mail, I think we should put that octopus in the letter sorting room. That's where he's going to shine.
I love that's working for the mail. I don't know. That just expression made me laugh. No, you're right. Can you picture the cartoon version of it where he's just chucking letters left and right and just like a blur, of like arms and paper flying? Like he's in the mail room shooting things up chutes to be delivered to the executives in the C-suite, like in the 50s,
That would have been a fantastic addition to the Always Sunny episode where Charlie Day works in the mailroom.
Oh, yeah.
If they come up with the idea that they got to bring an octopus in, to sort the
great.
mail. All right. Get at us. Get at us, Rob, Glenn, and Charlie.
He's just got it in a tank in the room, and he's like trying to explain to Mac that he's, we're working on it.
Yeah. This guy doesn't stop, this octopus. Can he read? All right, moving on.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Ben. Yeah. That is the question.
That's the question.
Wait, but also, does he need to read? Because if you just train it based on the right thing, then maybe that doesn't even matter, per the story of clever Hans, in the previous episode.
Yeah, exactly. Prescient there. We know that the point about anthropocentrism bears repeating, because a lot of people throughout history made these very well-intentioned, valid assumptions that were still assumptions. They said, hey, look at us. We're humans. We can talk. Other animals are also smart, so maybe they can learn to talk like us instead of us meeting them where they are at communicatively.
I mean, we even do that within our species in terms of like everybody ought to know English, but we can't be bothered to learn. I don't know, man. It just occurred to me the other day how like some bad people will make a big point about how certain immigrants don't speak good English, but they speak English way better than you speak Mandarin, my friend. I will tell you that right now. And that's, I don't know, it always occurs to me how thoughtless and egotistical that kind of stuff is.
It's very self-centered because, look, you run into someone who is making the effort to speak to you in your lingua franca and they don't get everything right. Remember, they are a polyglot and you may not be. So they walked a lot further to get to that conversation than you did. And I think that's a brilliant comparison, Noel. I mean, like you said, clever Hans, the math horse. From there all the way up to the modern day public and scientists alike have been accused of sort of seeing what they wanted to see or perhaps hearing what they want to hear. And we talked about this a little bit. Researchers are still going back and forth over whether certain animal experiments did result in actual conversation, or was Alex the African gray parrot or Coco the lowland gorilla, were they just mimicking the behavior and responding to the cues of the people, quote unquote, training them? And previously, we mentioned, Matt, you mentioned lightly the astonishing orangutan, right? Orangutan. And we got to give them one more quick shout out. Have you guys seen the various videos of these forest dudes, as the name translates? Have you guys seen the videos of them like figuring out solutions to problems or getting people to show them their human babies, all that cool stuff?
Oh yeah. And we also talked about some of the chimps that were taught sign language and other types of language before them. Some of the great apes that Jane Goodall was directly, associated with. She was not associated with Coco, by the way. I think I mentioned that specifically, or I had a thought that she was, but she was not.
But like you pointed out, she was aware of it.
She was aware, and I
Yes.
believe I read a quote of hers where it was
She
very
visited.
confirming to a lot of the things that she believed, for sure.
Yeah, and you did share that quote. We also know that orangutans are specifically associated with a closely related cryptid over in their part of the world, the orang pendek, which we've talked about a little bit in the past. Anyway, it can feel like kind of a bummer to hear someone say, oh no, actually you're not talking with non-human animals. But we got to remember, this is how scientific progress works. Pretty much everybody who is not a sociopath at some point has felt a bond, an understanding, some sort of communicative connection with a non-human animal. And I think one of the biggest unexpected conspiracies we found at play here is that it turns out for quite some time, other animals have been trying to talk to humans, like ardently and in good faith. And humanity is just now maybe figuring out how to receive those messages. So it's kind of weird to say it, but despite all the human cognitive superpowers, it turns out that humanity may have been the dumb kids in the class the whole time.
Yeah, really, imagine your cat meowing at you now and thinking your cat is just trying to speak slowly at you to get you to understand.
Dude, my cat meowing at me plays on a loop in my mind at all times. It is haunting. It haunts me.
It programs you, right? Like how
Maybe.
if you play Tetris too long, you dream of Tetris.
Mm-hmm. And you're really good at packing U-Hauls.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Here's where it gets crazy. All right, what if we pick up where we left off with more examples of human to animal communication in specific species? Hate to sound like a broken record, but folks, cephalopods.
Oh,
Cephalopods.
cephalopods. So we're talking octopuses, squid. What else fits in there? Cuttlefish, maybe?
Cuttlefish, mollusk. They're a class of mollusk. Also, the aliens in Arrival are very much inspired by cephalopods.
Yes, but also like a human hand that's giant, but also a cephalopod. It's very strange. Spoilers. Sorry. There's a great moment where they get revealed. These things are incredible. Have you guys seen them take the tests that they give to kids where they can put, a specifically shaped box into a specifically shaped hole, and somehow they understand that's what you want them to do, or match colors, or my ex-wife was a cognitive behavioral therapist, so I watched these tests happen, and specifically with young children attempting to work out what it is that you're supposed to do and how to do it. But then somehow these creatures that live deep within the ocean can just figure it out.
And the unendingly hilarious part is, as researchers have found time and time again, these octopuses in specific will only play your reindeer games if they like you.
Right.
If they don't like you, they will beat me here, Dylan. They'll be like, this guy in particular, and they'll squirt ink or they'll throw the puzzle at you.
Sure. Yeah. Famously depicted in Finding Nemo 2.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah?
I think there's an octopus that is bouncing
Nice.
around in that movie, if I'm not mistaken, from an aquarium. Isn't Finding Nemo 2 the one that involves an aquarium?
Is it called Finding Nemo 2?
Well, I think it's called Finding Dory.
Okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
I mean, come on. It's Finding Nemo 2. Finding Dory.
My ears prick up every time I see Dylan go off mute, because I think, he's about to deliver the mail on us on this one.
Yeah.
That was Finding Dory was when the octopus kept trying to escape.
Right,
Their
from the
enclosure.
tank.
Yeah.
But he scorched somebody in the eyes with ink at some point. I mean, he does have, Pixar does a good job with this anthropomorphization while staying true to some of the original, things that the actual creatures do in their natural
And based
state.
on real world events.
Right, and based on, relatively good science. They seem to be into that stuff.
The octopus escapades. Escapades plus octopus.
Yeah,
Yes.
octopuscapades. Octopuscapades. That's
There
fun
you
to
go.
say.
Guys, this is unrelated. Did you see Toy Story 5 is actually happening?
You know who's really unhappy about that? Quentin Tarantino. He's got some hot takes. He says, "No, I refuse. It ended perfectly." He actually doesn't even like 4. He's very anti-4.
Yeah,
Well-
he's a very big fan of 3.
Look, I'm super excited because Forky is still around, and
Tight.
my whole family loves Forky. And then,
Isn't it Sporky?
no, it's Forky.
Isn't he a spork though? He's a fork. He was a little
His
sport.
name's Forky, okay?
All right, okay,
Go
sorry.
on Disney
Sorry.
Plus and look
All
at
right.
the shorts Forky asked your question. They're
Plus this
fantastic.
guy.
Look,
Oh,
listen.
man.
Noel
Look,
and I
hey,
don't
hey.
have monocles.
Really
Okay.
big leaguing us here.
Wow.
Well, I'm so excited because Conan O'Brien is going to be a character named Smarty Pants, and there's an interview he did, I think, with Deadline or somewhere else, where he talks. It's Conan O'Brien. I'm sorry, I'm a big fan of
He's
this
a lovely
dude's
man.
humor.
I'm sure it's going to be a lot
I
of
don't
fun.
think you should apologize for enjoying the work of
He's a
brilliant people.
pixie of a
Well,
creature, and
he's
there's
a
nothing
celebrity.
but love for him.
And we know how, we get it. But he is so funny in the way he approaches his attempts to first get the roles of Woody and Buzz, and like how it was astonishing that they wouldn't give him those roles.
Do you know he has a really small part in the Death Stranding sequel, that like weird ass like video game that Kojima does with
the
Norman Reedus?
Simulator?
They call it the Walking Simulator. I'm playing the first one, but the second one is out, and I believe he appears as a hologram or something, and he talks about going in to shoot it with mocap at Kojima's studios and how he had no idea what he was supposed to be doing or what the story was about. Yeah.
That's a radically different video game, right, to the usual genre, just like the octopus is a radically different creature to the rest of the world. Yeah.
Guys, I am so sorry. And I don't know how this happened or why, and I don't think I have a bunch of them in my house, but I very well might. A cockroach just crawled across my screen, and I grabbed it. It is currently in my hand.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to...
Are you going to eat it?
No, I'm going to go take it and throw it outside really fast.
It's amazing.
It came
in from outside. It's your house.
I don't want to
spotless.
open my hand so he'll get out.
Fan of the show.
Yeah.
Super metal.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. Thanks for tuning in.
I do, yeah.
Here. Can you hear that, dude? So I'm holding
wriggling
the
around
headphone up to it. Oh, yeah, it's wriggling around a lot.
You're a bold mofo, my friend.
This is very real. So I'm going to go take this outside. And you know what? We'll be right back after a word from our human sponsors.
And we have returned. Yes, just like Death Stranding was a radically different game in the milieu of video games before it, the cephalopods in general, the octopus in specific, are so incomprehensibly different to surface life that you could consider them an alien organism that just happens to share our same galactic address. They're very smart. They have immense mental abilities. They also have way cooler physical superpowers, like the octopus dreams. It solves puzzles. It recognizes, it remembers individual humans that it likes or doesn't like. We're talking off air. They can rearrange or edit their own RNA on the fly.
Is that what allows them to change color and stuff, or is that made up? Don't some of them they can blend in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. They've got
chromatophores.
built-in camouflage.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the chromatophores, which are also a way that they communicate, right? Like the bee communicates through dance. The octopus will communicate with color. They also have very sensitive ocular hardware. So it sounds like if we were all aliens and we were getting some vacation time on Earth, and we got a little pamphlet that said Earth, you'd read about the octopus and you would think these guys are at the top.
Which is funny. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, I guess, that so many aliens are depicted as cephalopod-esque. For better or worse. I mean, oftentimes they are depicted as antagonistic, especially the Cthulhu type, mythos of the cosmic horror, that H.P. Lovecraft put out. But that's I think it's just like the most alien thing that we can see here on Earth that looks squiggly and creepy and otherworldly.
It's a great point. As we continue forward, we're going to talk about these guys, then we're going to go on land for a bit and then go back into the ocean. But it does make me imagine another intelligent life coming to this planet, which is largely a water planet, and checking out the water first, because, I mean, it's mostly water, so let's go there. And you find these guys and cetaceans and whales and some of the other more intelligent creatures that exist out there. And you may very well imagine that they're the ones responsible for all the stuff floating around, all the satellites that you encounter on your way in. That would make a lot of sense.
Right. It would be another well-intentioned assumption, yet an assumption nonetheless. The thing is, the octopus kind of made what we would call a Faustian bargain, evolutionarily speaking. They got all these superpowers, chromatophores out the wazoo. They're just nuts. They're like if cursive was a living thing, but they do have a curse upon them. Not cursive, but a curse. They've got very short lifespans in comparison to other animals of their cognitive ability. They also have what we've talked about in the past, a hard hormonal kill switch. It means that if you are an octopus, you are driven to reproduce, and when you reproduce, you will die.
Yep. They're also crazy efficient hunters, but no bones, or very few bones.
They got like
Need some
one.
bones. Come on. They're just
They
a
got the
liability. People always breaking them and stuff, you know.
There we go. It's octopus insurance policies. But also they come up in a very different environment. You know, think about it this way, maybe. How could an underwater creature, regardless of intelligence, figure out how to do some of humanity's greatest hits, like tame fire? The closest you could get is an undersea vent that you would sort of worship like a god.
Yeah, but you got bioluminescence, man. Like,
Right.
Screw fire. We're just going to make ourselves glow.
Why do we need to cook? You know what I mean? There's also the question of environmental pressures. What environmental pressures exist for the octopus that would create something the surface dwellers would recognize as culture, right? Corvids, whales, they all have some kind of mechanism. Oh, and humans, for passing knowledge through generations, right? They have deep oral history, some birds and some whales and some humans, And
Well, you know, if they can edit their RNA, I wonder if there's anything you could do with that to pass down knowledge of something to your young.
Right.
Like you edit your own RNA somehow, which isn't the same as editing your DNA, but you know, you edit yourself in some way so that the next version of you now has that thing. That would be cool.
Yeah, epigenetic changes, just like in Neil Stephenson's 70s. Spoilers. This is weird because evolution is history's most brutal editor, right? Like, you know, we always hear the thing, kill your darlings. Evolution invented that. So maybe the octopus just never needed to create some kind of intergenerational culture. Maybe it never had the evolutionary opportunity up till now to do so. But they're just, oh my God, I'm such an octopus stan, they would call it. I'm like, they're my favorites right now.
Great. They're great. A lot of people refuse to eat them because, I mean, it's probably obvious, but a lot of people know this, but because they are so sentient that even people that eat other, you know, seafood refuse to eat octopus.
Very much so. My son and I used to go to the sushi place all the time before the recent orthodontist unpleasantness. You know, but
the recent unpleasantness. I'm sorry. Yes.
Well, an octopus was one of his favorite things, and I, you know, I let him eat it if he wanted to eat it. But then we had a whole conversation about these guys and what they mean and how they operate and what they might represent, and we just decided, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. Or, you know, just go the Sith version and say, okay, we'll eat humans too.
There you go.
Not yet. That's a different sushi restaurant. And I hope it's not in the States. I mean, look, the octopus can do object permanence, right? And we pointed this out earlier. They do seem to enjoy pranks. There are cases of an octopus in an aquarium that will break out of a place, do a little heist, and then go back to its own aquarium and literally lower the lid and close the latch such that no one knows what's happening, or they can escape back to the sea, you know, free our boys, or they'll just squirt ink at people, not because they're scared, because they seem to think it's funny. Kind of cool, right? Kind of cool. I mean, so we could say humans cannot talk with our watery, what'd you say, no, Lovecraftian brethren from the depths.
Right.
Yeah, okay. But we can establish a type of connection, a little bit of rudimentary communication through positive reinforcement, but they're just so different. We don't know how the octopus processes concepts like friendship or kinship.
Have you seen, what is it? My Octopus Teacher? documentary where a diver, a naturalist, I can't remember exactly what his background is, has an octopus friend who he spends a lot of time with. And I haven't seen it entirely. I've seen moments of it, but it's apparently quite moving and really demonstrates how that, interspecies relationship can be very meaningful, or at least seem that way.
Agreed. Absolutely love it. Please do watch that documentary. It's a banger. And also tell us if you have befriended one of our cephalopod pals. Before we do that, trigger warning for any people with emotive responses to the concept of birds. Noel, is it okay is it okay if we talk about birds for a second?
Yeah, but can I just say, I saw an AI-generated horror clip online yesterday that was these just giant predatory birds just tearing apart flesh. And you know how effed up some of that AI stuff looks, and it really got to me. It was like the first time my bird phobia had sort of kicked in, where I was like, no, thank you.
It's going way back to that whole epigenetics thing where... No, I'm just kidding. We weren't around with the dinosaurs, but I was going to imagine, human flesh. One time our ancestors saw human flesh being torn open by giant alligators and sharks, which is,
And now we fear them, even if it's not necessarily something that's a threat to us. I got you.
There is a primal response to the reptilian. Yeah.
But we
which
do
is
know
the avian.
we weren't exactly around. At least we have no proof that humanity of any sort that would be a descendant was around at that time.
Yes, right, so far. And we want to believe it is a true story that for about, I think, a very brief period of ancient history, flightless large birds were the apex predator for a lot of Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't a flightless bird just seem like they really kind of lost the genetic lottery? Like, what's the point of being a bird if you can't fly? And maybe that's very reductive, but flightless birds just seems like a real bummer.
Ask the penguins, dude. The penguins are having a good old time.
You know what?
Okay?
You're right. But they can slide at least. They got some superpowers.
Their version of flight is swimming, right?
See?
That's
so
true.
the water is the sky.
And an ostrich and an emu, they're out there, man, they run fast as the wind. So it's like flying.
Yeah, right. And a shoebill looks like it will stalk you on Instagram. They've got a very intense stare.
I know we're jumping to birds, guys. There's one last point I wanted to make about the cephalopods there. Because they don't have a vocalization, at least that we are aware of, you cannot study them, or at least their language, if you put that in quotations, or their communication in the same way that you can study something like birds, right? Or like some of these other even underwater mammals that do speak. They make vocalizations. But these cephalopods generally don't. So you're really looking at their communication with the things we outlined there, the other ways, the way they're changing color and all those things. It just makes it's a different task, right? If you're going back to the arrival example, it is more of a visual understanding of what they're communicating rather than auditory.
100%, and with birds, they're also quite visually based, right? Similar to the octopus, but they're even more strongly driven, depending on the type of bird you're talking about, by auditory cues, right? So this makes them a little closer to primates in how they vibe. We already did the terrifying observation of what birdsong really means in chapter 1. They're just shouting out age, sex, location.
Not always.
This is my tree.
Yes.
If it's a corvid, they're yelling "screw owls." You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. It's very graffiti-esque, but a ton of birds can mimic all sorts of sounds in the natural world, up to and including human speech. Like the whole reason we have starlings in the United States is a crazy story about a guy who wanted to get all the birds mentioned in the works of Shakespeare and bring them to the U.S.
Yeah, in the same way that Japan has an invasive raccoon problem because of a children's cartoon. Yeah, right. People love to dub stuff like that.
It's so weird. Starlings are a funny example for us because starlings mimic a lot of the noises that you as a human do not care for. Sirens, alarm clocks, gunfire, all the stuff that you are evolutionarily or behaviorally primed to dislike.
Right.
A starling will just run up behind you and be like, whoop, whoop.
What is it? Just trying to spook you? Is it trying to spook you out, like as a defense mechanism? What is the purpose for this?
They just hear it and they
That's true. It is a lot
recite
of
it.
ambient sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting too, because I mean, that's such a symbiotic reflection of like our world. And like, they wouldn't be doing that if we didn't have all that noise pollution. And we've certainly talked about stories of how noise pollution can affect like migratory patterns and things like that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, but the thing is, we can't decode the other stuff fully that's being said by these birds between the mimicry, right? So we don't know maybe even motivation that we're thinking about right now. What is the motivation of doing that mimicry? What is the motivation? Well, we can't talk to them to fully understand that yet. The hope here, though, is that through studying the bird songs, and there are companies that we're going to be talking about very soon that are attempting to analyze every single type of vocalization, the pauses between those vocalizations, and all of the complexity of it, and figure out exactly what each one of these things is conveying or attempting to convey. And the big question is it as complex as human speech patterns, where we're missing all those pieces to understand, oh, well, it sounds like they're saying the same thing, but the pattern that they said it in is actually saying something different.
Yeah, well said. Like the pickle of it is the concept of communication versus mimicry, right? Like, yes, you can teach certain birds to say all sorts of stuff, such as 2 for 25. You can also teach them to say a vocalization like religion is control, but that does not automatically mean the bird in question has really thought through the concept of metaphysics and is now telling you they're an atheist.
Well, unless you sit them in front of the TV and make them watch Heretic 24/7 for like 2 weeks, then maybe.
That movie ruled.
Heretic is, I got this wrong off mic. I thought we were talking about Hereditary, but no, Heretic is...
Yeah, Hugh Grant is like this. It's really interesting. I watched it a couple of times because it's about religious syncretism and the way a lot of the things we talk about on the show. There are parts of it that are a little heavy-handed and the plot twists aren't amazing, but I really liked it at its heart a lot. I think it's an interesting food for thought kind of movie.
And based around the Book of Mormon, at least largely, for the scenario we get to see.
Rated 5 out of 5 by bird reviewers on Birch Fork.
There you go.
The comment section just says, religion is control.
Exactly. Over and over. And this gets weirder when we notice the idea of communication with avians gets even more labyrinthine when we think about how some birds do provably bond incredibly closely with human partners, even to the point of self-harm, right? Some of these birds live 60 plus human years, and when their partner disappears or passes away, they're plucking out their feathers. They're not eating. They're quite distressed. They have lost something they loved. I don't know. I keep thinking about Alex, the African gray parrot. Do you guys think he knew what he was saying when he said, I love you?
I don't know. I mean, love is such a construct, kind of like of metacognition. It doesn't seem. I don't know, because we certainly see affection between members of other species in the animal kingdom, but then you start to think, like, is it all purely functional? Is it all just like a reproduction drive? Like, is there any sentimentality wrapped up in it? You know what I mean? Like, that's how we experience it. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's trite or like dismiss the feelings of love or the concept, but it does seem inherently a product of the way we think about it within these other kind of structures.
We could also ask the same questions about humans. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Well, sure. But in this specific case, doesn't it go back to this question of mimicry versus understanding of what that is?
100%.
Because is that not a phrase that somebody that cares about that parrot would say when they have to leave for the day? Like that exact set of phrases.
Like you say to your partner, right? Or to your kid or something. You
I was
know?
about to say nobody could love a parrot, but that's just not true. That's my inherent bias. Please love your parrots.
Well, if you can love a kid or the intelligence of a human child, then you could arguably love an African gray, and it could love you back, because repeated cognitive tests, bias aside, proves they have the mental acumen of a 4 to 6 year old human child, which means also old enough to develop personality.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is why I think the efforts of companies like the Earth Species Project are really actually cool and important. While I may not fully agree with a lot of the things in there, I think the work is going to be important. This is a company you can read about all over the place. They are attempting to build a large language model of some sort, or maybe a series of them, but at least starting in one large unified one that can study the vocalizations of all kinds of animals and fully understand them. So using AI and some of these things that are so exciting right now in the zeitgeist to look at all of the language that has been recorded of an African gray parrot, right? And then really study that stuff, and then get deeper into other like individual studies where you're looking, you've got an African gray parrot and you're working specifically with that parrot to understand all the communication, building these huge data sets that can hopefully one day do that kind of magic thing where on your phone, Google can do some of this right now, at least a little bit. If you go outside and you open a certain app and you just let your microphone go for a while, you can discover the different types of species of birds that are in your backyard or something, right? Or at a nature preserve. But imagine being able to actually put that on, do that thing, and then get a feedback of what specific species are attempting to communicate in that part of a forest or something. It's super cool. And not just with birds, they're trying to do it with absolutely everything, like all animal communications, but specifically bioacoustic data. So vocalizations.
Heck yeah. That sounds fascinating. All right, so I think we are going to move on to another member of the animal kingdom. Some of our floppy ears and nosed friends from Africa, and elsewhere in Disney movies. We're talking about elephants. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then be back with more.
And we have returned. How dare you call him Dumbo, Disney?
It is offensive. And that movie is a bummer.
Oof, yeah. The elephants are the opposite of Dumbos. In addition to being physically huge, they are mental titans. Yeah, they can't talk the same way your human friends can, but they can understand human words and commands and respond to certain cues if trained. They have a crazy, complex vocabulary. They trumpet, they roar, they growl. Side note, I didn't know elephants can growl. It is pretty frightening to imagine that you're just standing around an elephant and it doesn't like you and it goes.
Yeah.
Interesting. I could see that more as like I am not amused.
Yeah. They're one of only a handful of species that we have observed mourning their dead, right?
That's
which
right.
Is a huge deal because it implies empathy, which, oh my gosh, like that. Is there anything more human than that? So
that's so cool that you brought that up, because that was sort of my question about like love. And I mean, mourning and empathy it's a form of love. It implies loss and like, being attached to somebody beyond just a functional reason. So I think you just answered my question. That's forgot about elephants mourning the dead.
The object permanence, knowing that some mind or soul was inside a physical frame, and that thing has left the building. The software's gone. This happens also with corvids. This happens with a lot of other animals as well, including humans. The elephant squeaks. The elephant snorts. Get this, which I think we're all surprised to learn. They also communicate through infrasound. That is correct, friends and neighbors. The same stuff that explains the human experience with ghost.
Yeah, it's that stuff that's super low. It's too low of a vibration for us to hear. Pretty cool. It makes sense, though, with those giant ears and those really cool trumpets they got, that they could make some kind of cool sounds. Although I doubt that their nose has anything to do with the infrasound. I think it's probably the more guttural throat stuff, right?
I'm going to say it with due respect and affection. They have very big ears.
Yeah, absolutely. But
glorious.
it means they can probably pick up some stuff that maybe we can't.
Right, right. So in both African and Asian elephants, you will find infrasound used for long distance comms. For the African elephants, it's going to be something between 15 to 35 hertz. And for the Asian elephants, it's going to be 14 to 24 hertz. And as fellow sound nerds, can we talk a little bit about how infrasound works and like how can it move so far, like 6 miles or so? How can it function as a communication thing that humans don't clock?
Yeah, I guess it doesn't dissipate because of its frequency range. So it's able to just like move through materials, even sort of the way low frequencies do. So it's a super low freak, right? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah, that's crazy low.
Yeah, so that's exactly
hertz, 14 hertz. Yeah, that's like
the sound is just energy, right? I mean, it's just energy that's moving through a medium.
Yeah, it's a very long wave that just kind of keeps going. And wow, it is fascinating. Again, if you open up a DAW or something and you open up an equalizer and you go to the very far left side when you're looking at it, that's where you're going to get to the low frequencies. And you'll see when a really popular song is going to come out on the radio or something, often, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Noel, that very far left side over there with the super low sounds, you often have to duck that just a little, or bring it down just a little bit, or hit a threshold with it, because it can actually like break speakers if you have too much low frequency stuff going on, and it's too heavy.
It certainly can, but it also just muddies up a mix real bad. Like you can't hear it, but once it stacks on top of other things, it can like really cause like buildup. They call it like low frequency buildup. So a lot of times when working in a digital audio workstation kind of software, people will roll off the low end of a thing, or even microphones will have a switch on them that's a high pass or a low cut, which basically just subtracts those sounds even from the capturing.
And we don't know if elephants are aware of this, but we do know essentially, this is one of the big reveals, elephants have an organic infrasound version of a group chat thread. And the unaided human cannot hear this, cannot participate. So you got to wonder what they talk about. They may have their own complex proto-language. And we recently discovered that elephants have been trying to quote unquote talk with humans for a long time, an untold time. They're capable of what is called goal-directed intentionality. This is why we mentioned the orangutan earlier. Elephants can use, or have been documented, using 38 distinct gesture types, sometimes quite elaborate, to convey their goals and desires to humans. So we might see a massive breakthrough in human-to-elephant communication. We just don't know how complex that hybrid system may become. Again, love to say it, you meet people where they're at.
Oh, for sure. Well, we also only really get to hang out with elephants and a lot of these creatures that we're attempting to study when they're in some form of captivity, whether that's on a nature preserve, in a zoo, in an aquarium, somewhere where they're controlled enough so that humans can have that continued interaction with them. And the big question there is, how much does that affect the stuff they're trying to communicate, right? Or how much does that affect what they're thinking and feeling when we get into those situations?
Yeah, which makes me personally sad that we're not going to be able to talk about Peter the dolphin today, but you can find probably one of the best parables about that kind of communication wherever in your search browser of choice. Just look up Peter LSD dolphin and tell us your thoughts about that.
Well, we can. Well, let's break it down. Like it was that situation that we talked about before, right? Where there's a dolphin or dolphins in captivity, and some weird stuff happened.
I just remember that talking about talking animals in pop culture too, and that show Sequest, they had like a tank that was fitted with communication translation tools that allowed them to talk to the dolphin that was on the ship.
Yeah. So do check out that story. We couldn't leave you without a dope cetacean beat to step to. So after you're reading about this amazing story of dolphin communication, check out the whales. We can't mention dolphins without mentioning whales. Even in 2025, they're super mysterious. Now, it may ruin your search history to look up things like sperm, whale, phonetic alphabet, but it's going to be worth it. Whales communicate through what you could roughly call songs. It's pretty beautiful stuff, but just like Tom Waits, it's maybe not for everyone. Or it's no square pusher. It's a little bit slower. But up until recently, humanity wasn't sure how to classify whale songs. They've been described as sounding like, I'd love to hear what we think about this, sounding like a combo of Morse code and popcorn popping.
Yes. It's a series of clicks, 21 different click patterns, and they call them codas, which was really cool. I like that.
Yeah, we owe a lot of this to Project SETI, the Cetacean Translation Initiative. The humans were asking for a long time. They said, well, are the whales doing the maritime equivalent of bird vocalizations, which are all pretty much horny mating calls, territorial remarks, cries of distress? Was there something more at play? So SETI did this amazing thing. From 2005 to 2018, they recorded 400 different sperm whales, largely in the Caribbean, and they leveraged large language models, pattern recognition algorithms. And they said, oh my gosh, you guys, these whales aren't just mindlessly clicking to pass the time. They have their own pattern. So maybe we go to the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian sums this up perfectly. I just love rubato.
Sperm whales rattle off a series of rapid-fire clicks that researchers have named codas. Each coda consists of between 3 and 40 clicks. In addition to changing the number of clicks they make in quick succession, whales often speed up or slow down the tempo of each coda. Researchers call this rubato. Sometimes they add an extra click at the end of a coda, which scientists call ornamentation.
Yeah,
Pretty
dude.
Cool. Pretty cool.
It is so much like Morse code, Ben, because they also noticed they will sometimes put a click at the front too. Mm-hmm. So depending on who is listening and then, who is sending the message, they will put those clicks on either end as like that whole, what is the official like ham radio signal when it's like, oh, you say over when you're done,
and then you say out when you're done.
Yeah, and breaker, whatever. Of course.
This team with leveraging this LLM model or this algorithmic approach, they identified at least 156 distinct clicky-click codas. And so the current idea or the dream is that if you add these together and you create some sort of undersea Rosetta Stone, you can find something very much like language, like these clicks and their pattern, their cadence may indicate syllables, words, indeed, even concepts and sentences. Is this language? Is this music? That's one of the big questions. If we're going with the music comparison, then people would argue this conveys emotion without necessarily conveying specific information.
It's crazy because we know these whales use these types of codas in communication when they're hunting, right? They use echolocation to hunt in the same way if you imagine a bat, sends out a signal, and the way it knows where stuff is by, as that signal returns, it can identify stuff. These whales do that same thing with these clicks and with some of the sounds they make. And then they're also clicking to each other when they're hunting because they don't hunt alone often. They're hunting together in a pod or in what is a whale? A group of whales? Is it a pod?
It's a pod, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we can understand that stuff, but it's incredible that you've got a group like this, SETI, Cetacean Translation Initiative.
Not to be confused with the monitoring of space, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Although they're doing similar stuff in an interesting way. As above, so below, I guess.
Hey,
Yeah.
but just knowing that there's a group out there trying to use AI for something like this in a large language model type thing for this, to then decode all those things and to be able to understand what the whales are communicating. Guys, I don't know if there is a better use of AI out there that's actually positive and cool.
Agree. I mean, it's certainly a good one.
Yeah, this is the question. If this is indeed a language from our cetacean friends, that does mean logically it can be decoded. That further means that it would be possible to create a kind of translation process, meaning that if everything works out, we may be capable of speaking to whales directly within your lifetime. You, specifically you, as you're listening to this show. And if that is the case, get ready. Humanity is going to have a lot of explaining to do, especially about the submarines.
But I guess that's the thing, right? Like, even if we can translate or we can speak to them, we're not going to have anything in common. Like, how are we going to bridge their understanding of the natural world, like with ours and all of the terms and stuff? Like, the whole nature of communication is sort of based on like those things being on an equal footing, and I just don't think they are.
Discovering commonality, right?
But maybe that would allow that to happen. Maybe that's the thing.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Imagine a world, guys, where this goes to its logical conclusions and we've got these apps now on our phone that can both listen to an animal and like give you a Google translation, right? And then you can then type in something and then it spits out whatever clicks or, sounds that could be made, and you can communicate back to that animal. That's incredible. But then also imagine that you're attempting to talk to creatures that are living close to humanity in one of our metropolitan areas. And as you said, like the things we need to be ready for, Ben, like what they're going to be complaining about, the stuff that's going on underwater if you're talking to a whale. What about, all of the other animals? What about the animals that we use for food?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, what happens when we can actually communicate with these animals, and how is that going to change how we interact and use animal species across the board?
Right. The human experiment still suffers from the controversial idea of Dunbar's number. So what happens if you add billions of other organisms into the mix? This leads us brilliantly and terrifyingly to the future, a world of amazing scientific progress occurring at a breakneck pace, even as the world is imperiled by pollution, changing climates, the ever-present cartoonish threat of civilization ending in war. I love the mention you made there, Matt, of the concept of an app. So just like apps that can identify the species of bird making a bird song, there are friends at ESP have something called Nature LM Audio, the first LLM for animal sounds. And this sounds pretty phenomenal. What you do is you're into it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what happens. All right. LLMs are definitely imperfect, but being made by humans who are great at recognizing patterns, LLMs are phenomenal at pattern recognition. Maybe not so much synthesis, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and if you are looking for something like an app like this, as we've described today, that you can just use right now, I guess we would recommend Merlin, which is a really cool app from Cornell Lab, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It's one of those things where you take it outside and it identifies bird species. Pretty simple, but also incredibly complex and cool. It's not going to do the kind of things that the Earth Species Project is trying to do with Nature LM. But it's one of those things that's a stepping stone towards that kind of thing.
And that's the progress. Yeah, the Nature LM models, the things powering it, they get fed huge amounts of data from patterns of human speech and then music, and then they get fed data from recordings and observation of non-human animals. So yes, bird vocalizations, yes, whale songs, also the behavior of jumping spiders. They go pretty freaking deep. And
can you imagine if it gets confused though, and it starts spitting out stuff like, oh, that is a cardinal, and it's doing Pearl Jam. Like, yeah. Crap.
Another precedent for this would be go to Google Translate, say something that is universal, like, excuse me, may I please have a quesadilla? write that in English, translate it to Japanese, translate it to German, and then translate that phrase back to English. So is there a world where we can have a whale and a crow make a podcast? What's their podcast about? Your sky is my sea, your sea is my sky.
Oh, dude. Well, Nature LM Audio is supposed to come out this year, sometime in 2025. I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably going to be next year or the year after that, but they're doing their best to get it out this year, all the good folks over there.
The only deadline is the end of the world, right?
Hey, and we got 2,000 days, according to some experts, until the whole, what do they call that thing? The singularity occurs?
Yeah, it was a good run. You know what I mean?
We did okay.
So, humanity, 3 out of 5. So how do we feel, though, about an ad-driven Dr. Dolittle world, right? Is it possible that this and similar initiatives might, just like a not quite ethical UN translator, is it possible that apps like this might squeeze in some concepts that humans don't clock? You know what I mean? Like one day you're using this technology to interact with your local tiger, and the LLM accidentally or by design inserts communication that you have neither consented to nor agreed with.
Dude, you got Blue Jays out there doing ads for Wild Harvest Universal Blend Birdseed.
Exactly. And how stupid will this make humans look? You think you're saying, whoa, what's it like to fly? Why are you so pissed at ravens or pissed at owls? And instead, what they're hearing are those questions interspersed by ads.
Yeah. Subscribe to Hulu today. What?
Exactly.
Soon Hulu will be a thing of the past. It's getting subsumed by Disney Plus. Or maybe it's Disney Plus is getting subsumed by Hulu. I forget.
No
so
way.
hard to keep track.
Not possible.
It is. One way or the other. It's definitely like either Hulu's going away. Disney Plus was kind of considered to be a bit of a flop, and they own so much IP that they're gonna like smush it all together and call it something else.
They need to make Disney for the animals. You know what I mean? That's the next step. Maybe
Hulu's getting integrated into Disney.
That
Plus.
makes way more sense.
Totally. Yeah.
Because the krill doesn't eat the whale. Right? But the thing is, maybe humans can't yet talk to non-humans in the same way humans like to talk to each other or at the same level. But that might be set to change, and sooner than we think. So with this, guys, fair to say we cannot wait to hear other animals' favorite conspiracy theories. Can you imagine talking to an octopus, the translation works, and you're like, hey, man, what's the stuff they don't want you to know down there in the deep?
Don't get me started, bro. That's what you
Exactly. Fish people.
Right.
Have y'all seen the new Naked Gun movie, by the way?
I have not.
It's hilarious. It's like just joke. And there's this one bit in a meeting, like a joke, like kind of like a boardroom meeting where someone just keeps talking about fish people. And
love it.
It's hilarious.
Speaking of density of writing, I started rewatching 30 Rock.
Oh, same
and
deal.
It's just a banger.
Yeah.
Stem to stern. So shout out to the writers on that one. Shout out to the legendary Tina Fey. Shout out to you folks for tuning in. Human, non-human, animal alike. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please join us later on in a few days as we're continuing our AI exploration with the role of government and AI. You can drop us an email all the time. You can call us on the phone. You can find us on the lines.
Yeah, also Taco Bell and AI. I was just looking at BBC and this headline I think is hilarious. Taco Bell rethinks AI drive-thru after man orders 18,000 waters. I want to know more. Sorry, I had to bring it up. You can find us at the Handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group, Here's Where It Gets Crazy, on X, FKA, Twitter, and on YouTube with video content for you to peruse and enjoy. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Conspiracy Stuff Show, and there's more.
Sorry, sir, we don't have that much water. You can call our number. It is 1-833-STDWYTK. It's a voicemail system. When you call in, give yourself a cool nickname like Akiva Daniel Shabar Schaffer. That's a great nickname. Let us know if we can use your name and message on the air. Within the message, And if you got more to say, if you got, I don't know, links, maybe attachments, anything you want, just use your mind and then translate that into an email. We are
Here in the Dark, conspiracy at iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.